And those states right now, the leading candidate there is New Jersey, because the whole thing came through. We got the wet signature from the magistrate, federal magistrate, and they're on their way. We got California, and California has received the claim number, and we are going to serve the governor. Hopefully we'll get a sheriff or a federal marshal, but anybody, tell me if this is true, Rick, anybody can actually serve in this case. Isn't that right, Rick?
That is correct. That is correct. We
Excellent.
just need to get them served.
Okay,
And
excellent.
we also have a tort claim, a mass tort claim against Bill Gates and the CDC.
Now, is it true that all those tort claims, or is it just the one in Washington that is against the CDC?
No, they're all against the CDC.
That's what I thought. It's at the
Yeah,
end
they're
of
all in there.
claim. Right, it's mentioned that way. Okay, so question number 2. What about the fines, Rick? What can we do with this? What do we have to pay?
No, they're unlawful fines. They're outside their jurisdiction, number one. Number two, what I've been telling, like Bob the barber that I've been fighting for up here in Snohomish, Washington, is when you see something come in as a citation, you just put on the envelope, return to sender, and send it back. Ignore it. And they were coming at Bob with $20,000 a day if he stayed open. Guess what? Bob was cutting hair today.
And he didn't pay one fine.
I love Bob.
No, they can't enforce a fine that has no basis in law.
And this is a real important point. The governors are lying. The health department are lying. They are putting out executive orders or mandates. They are not law. They do not go through legislation, which that it has to do to make it be a law. And they are saying that it is law, and they're confusing the people. So even good people that aren't aware of all of us here, even good people are believing that it's law. And we got to
educate domestic terrorism.
Right.
That's
exactly.
an act of domestic terrorism.
So
and go ahead.
What happens if they don't pay the fine? They send it back, and then is there any occurrence at all? Was anything ever done where they went and arrested them for not paying?
Absolutely not, because he was never properly served. They're afraid to walk to his establishment and hand him a citation because they know what's going to happen. They know exactly what's going to happen, and I'm going to come after him. And if you ever do sign a citation, the first thing you would want to do is put a box around the signature page and then sign your name in there and then put at the end of it U.D under duress. And if you ever show up in court on it, you can say, I only signed that under duress. And when you put a box around under Contract Law 101, if it's got a box around it, that's the only thing you're agreeing to is what's in that box.
Right.
Okay, so a box around the U.D?
No, the first thing you do is you draw the box around where they want you to sign.
Okay.
I mean, this is just if you're dealing with somebody that's threatening to take you to jail or whatever, if you don't sign, this is the last resort. You put a box around the signature where you're supposed to put your signature. Draw a box around it, a rectangle, excuse me, and then sign your name in it and then put U.D in that box. Under Contract Law 101, what that means is I'm only agreeing to what's in that box, and I did it under duress. So the whole citation.
Now, what happens legally when you do that and they read that? What does that communicate to them?
Well, anybody that's educated in law, contract law, they automatically know what you're doing. Most police officers or health inspectors are not going to know that. But when it gets brought into a clerk's office and she sees that, she knows exactly what you've already done, because that's Contract Law 101.
Now, for the sake of everyone here knowing the answer to what I'm going to ask Rick now, please pardon us, because some people aren't aware of it, and it's always good to go over it. Rick, could you explain to them why it's important to get a constitutional lawyer that is not, let's say, loyal to the bar, but He's a lawyer and not an attorney, and why that's important.
Okay, it's always best because when you hire a bar attorney, and that stands for British Accredited Registry, a bar member, okay, they're beholding to a foreign entity. They're beholding to the crown, so to speak. Not so to speak. That's what they're holding out to. Now, when you hire a bar attorney, that automatic, this is in the law books, you can look this up. When you hire a bar attorney, their first priority is to protect the court. And when you hire that bar attorney, it automatically makes you an infant or an imbecile of unsound mind. Now, how many people are aware of that one? They automatically give jurisdiction to the court. With a constitutional lawyer, I go in there and I defend my client. I don't protect the bar. I don't protect the court. As a matter of fact, when I go in there, I'm on the offense immediately, and I'm going after the judge, and I'm going after where do you have jurisdiction and by what authority. And that's how you handle it. Anybody worth their weight in salt, I mean, when they know the difference, there's plenty of constitutional lawyers out there. You go in as assistance of counsel. Under the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to assistance of counsel. It does not say you have the right to a bar attorney. The word attorn comes from the word attorn, which is Latin, that means to twist. And what does an attorney do? He twists the truth.
Exactly. And so when you hire a bar attorney, his oath is to the court and not to his client.
That and the British Accredited Registry.
Right. And so your chances of winning that case is null. It's just very, especially with something like this with patriotic duties.
Absolutely. Why do you think that when you go into a criminal court, why they have a 98% success rating, the prosecutors? Think
Right.
about it.
Exactly. That's
Hey,
good.
Christo, this is Hank Adamany from the FTBA. I want to go back to that first question because the impression I was getting from Rick is that we are talking about civil suits against these people, against the governors. Is that correct?
Well, originally wasn't going to do that, but it came back as a civil suit. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, well, everything, to be honest with you, everything is commercial. Our court system is, if you look up any district court under Dun and Bradstreet, you will see that they are a for-profit corporation. Look up your county courthouses and stuff. They are listed in the Dun and Bradstreet. So everything's going to come off as a civil or commercial transaction. And that's when you look at, you start doing, and I don't really want to get too far into that because I don't want to lose people on this. But when you find out what's really going on in the court systems, when it's all about bonding and things of that nature, because we have a de facto court system right now. We do not have a de jure court system as we were promised in our Constitution.
So just go over that, de facto and de jure.
Okay, de jure is a common law court, okay? If there's an injured party, then there's a tort claim against it, okay? And a de facto court, you're dealing with statutes and codes and all kinds of other things. And you're dealing with bonding. You're dealing with, it's almost like a bank. Well, it is a banking system, basically, is what you're dealing with.
So the court system,
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, the bar court system is actually a corporation for profit. Isn't that right?
That is absolutely correct. That's what most Americans are totally unaware of. We've been hijacked. The Bar Association made its play in 1909 in Chicago, Illinois, and then it made its way through the rest of the states like a cancer cell and didn't, by the grace of God, hit Texas until 1939. And what you're dealing with is now everything's become de facto, and it's not about serving the injured party. It's about serving the pockets of whoever has the most money.
So in actual fact, when you go into court, you announce, Rick, that you are a constitutional lawyer, and how do you change it from being a bar court session to a constitutional session?
When I go into a courtroom, a lot of times the judges will come at me first off, and I'll be there with my client, and they'll say, well, Mr. Martin, you're not licensed to practice law. And I'll scratch my head and look a little bemused, and I'll look at the judge, and I will say to the judge, are we on the record? Yeah, we're on the record. I said, good. I said, do you have a license to practice law, Judge? Well, of course I do. I'm the judge. Great. I'll look over at the prosecutor, and I'll ask the same question. Do you have a license to practice law? Well, of course I do. I'm the prosecutor. I said, great. May I see it? And then they pull out that bar card, which is the Bar Association, and not, it's not a license. It's not sanctioned by the state. The state has to sanction the license. It's like if I go and get a driver's license, right? So this is where you nail them. Now I'll look at them and say, okay, well, this is not a license. This is an association. This is a membership card. I said, now you've just perjured yourself on the record. What are we going to do about that now? And that's how you start pinning them in.
Gotcha.
And I've been in the courtroom over 100 times, and most judges know who I am. Most of them don't want to deal with it. I've had judges literally, when I walk in the courtroom, have a full courtroom, and I'll walk in there with my client, and the judge has run off the bench, literally, and never came back.
Gotcha.
Never came back the whole day.
Next question. Governor Newsom, he has his brown shirts, his ABC, his CHP, his health department going around to all the businesses and shutting them down. Why do they have the authority to do that? It's not law. Why is there why are we deprived of the rights under color of law?
Because we don't know the Constitution, we don't know our rights. If you don't know your rights, you have no rights. That's the bottom line on that. You've got to stand up, and you've got to take action and force them out by making them adhere to their oath of office. And when you go after them, like I said, we've got to become the offense. We got to be the ones on the offense. Best defense is a great offense. We got to start making it extremely uncomfortable for them by threatening them, by knowing the law, coming back at them and saying, listen, you can be nice in the beginning, because I've been nice to cops in the beginning and health inspectors. I said, listen, you're being held out as cannon fodder right now. But if you knowingly and willingly proceed with writing me a citation or closing down my business, once I've explained the law to you, now you no longer have judicial immunity. I can come after you in your private capacity, take your house, your car, your swimming pool, everything you own, and leave you shredded underwear, homeless on the street. Is it worth it to you to write that citation? How many of you think will always say, oh yeah, it's worth it to me? I want to be held as cannon fodder for a governor that's acting outside his oath of office, that we have a tort claim against, that's possibly looking at the end of a rope when we're done. Yeah, they don't want to do this.
Man,
You've got to be more intimidating than they are. You've got to be more intimidating, and the law is there to protect our rights, not infringe on them.
It's
You
so
can
true.
see the law as a billy club.
This reminds me of David and Goliath. And the way I say that is Goliath, because they've been at this and set this up for the last 100 years, more than that.
More than that.
I know, but for the last 100, putting all these people in position, putting all these Democratic communists in position, all these attorney generals. I mean, like in Oregon, we got the governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state, the Supreme Court. They're all on the same team there. So that took a little bit of time. So that's Goliath.
Correct.
With that stone, this is our Constitution. And that
Absolutely.
Goliath.
Goliath is stronger than that. It's got the complacent and compliant Republicans too.
Exactly. You got it right. And yet we're going to win. Do you not believe that? Absolutely we are. Next question.
It's our faith that's going to get us there, because it was David's faith, it was Daniel's faith that made him as powerful, because he put his faith where it needed to be. And we have to bring our faith back to where it needs to be. We got to have those values. And, Hollywood has destroyed the values of the American people for so long. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so filled with pedophiles.
Yeah.
Is because they're sickos. that
I
are
know.
destroying the minds of our offspring. And that's just my not just my opinion. It's out there.
Fact.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you, Dana.
Question. Yeah, thanks. What if somebody gets COVID at your establishment? Is there any law repugnant to the Constitution? Is there any law at all that, or can that be enforced as law, and can it be ignored?
Well, here's the thing. When we were kids, we came home with the cold or came home with chicken pox. Was the school held liable? It's at your own risk. If you go out in
Exactly.
public and you catch the cold or chicken pox or whatever, and then the other thing on this one, how are they going to give evidence that they got it from your establishment?
Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's almost a no-brainer.
Now,
Show me that the COVID virus even exists.
Yes.
Yes, some are safe in petri dish.
that's right, Lenka. So listen, I want to make this announcement. All of the technical, everything that Rick is saying here appears on constitutionallawgroup.us. And you can go there, you can download them, you can print them out. Then if you want, you can contact me or whoever else is on board, Donna. We can clarify it and go over it with you. Next question, here we go. What are the practical steps? And Rick, what can you do yourself to help the business owner?
Okay, I've been 100% successful, and whenever a health inspector, a law officer, or somebody shows up, I've been 100% successful. And if they put me on speed dial or call our 1-800 number and get them in touch with me, of talking them out. Like I said, once they realize what's at stake, and I explain the law to them, they wake up and smell the coffee. They don't want to be cannon fodder. They don't want to be shredded underwear, and they know exactly that's where I'm going to go. I mean, they called me back in Texas the judge killer for a reason, and I'm actually kind of proud of that. As a matter of fact, one of the guys that I was working with out there in his father was Buster Adamy, who was a well-known bar attorney. That he was kind of like your Perry Mason type guy in Texas, and he since passed away 16 years ago. But his son and his sisters have a law office out there, and every time I call him, he's like, "Hey, what's going on, killer?" So.
Okay, moving on. Here's a question about the schools, Rick. It's an executive order that they lay out that they're not going to open up schools, but it's not a law. What do you suggest we do with our children in going to school?
What I would do is the Department of Education is a federal, they get their money from federal, okay? And that happened under Jimmy Carter when we got the Department of Education in 1978 under Jimmy Carter. And what I would say is I would start writing the Department of Education to defund these schools and go that route. And listen, the state doesn't want to lose its money. So if more parents say, hey, look, if we want you to take away the funding, we don't want to do this face masking. We don't want our children immunized. We don't want to have them working on, we've got all this money into these schools. And I'd say we'll say defund the educational department immediately and get these counties to lose their school funding. Always hit them in the pocketbook is what I would say.
Money talks.
That's right.
All of the money, right? Okay, sir. Rick, on the tort claim, there was a question that came up with several sovereigns. Some say we need 7 signatures. Some say we need 40 signatures. Some say the merrier. What is your answer?
The more the merrier, okay? Because the file in the federal courthouse is $400. And if you got 40 on there, everybody kicks in $10, and there's plenty of room to add more pages of signatures in there. And they're involved in a tort claim. The difference between a class action suit and a mass tort claim is in a class action suit. Everybody gets an equal piece of the pie. And a mass tort claim, you're awarded what you've been damaged. Each person's damage is going to be larger or smaller than the other. So you're going to go after what you feel was you were robbed of when they violated your rights, number one. And what were your rights worth to you? How much did they cost you, your business, all the mass tyranny? So everybody's going to, on a mass tort claim, everybody's going to have a different award. So that's what you want to get, as many people on there as humanly possible and get as many of them filed. You know, I always say 40 people is good, but 3 people's fine as well. One person's fine. It's just you got to be able to cover the cost of the $400 filing fee, and then you got to go and have a process server serve it on the governor or whoever you're after, whether it's a mayor or Bill Gates.
Gotcha. And now on the tort claim, isn't it true that for each tort claim, it's one tort claim per individual? So if you're going after the governor, you have to do it again with the AG.
That's correct.
And with if the SOS is involved too, Secretary of State. How about the Supreme Court of each state? If we know that they're in bed with the governor.
Well, yeah, you would go that route as well. In our tort claim, we also are naming the CDC, so that one's already in there because the CDC was the one that propagated the fraud, and this is a fraud. Right. So they're part of the lawsuit as well.
Now, does the WHO get involved with that? Because they're part of the fraud as well.
Which one?
WHO.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I believe we're after them as well. But the main bad actor I have in here was the CDC, and that's where we're after. But that one's all through here. We're showing their fraud and the violation of the Sherman Act and the Claimant Act violations. We're showing all of this, and that way you're not having to file against the CDC because we're already making a claim that they're the ones that perpetrated the fraud, and then the ones that went along with the fraud, knowing it was a fraud, were these governors, was Bill Gates, all for their own profit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that's our next question from this group in Southern California. Their main concern right now is the health department, because they have a little gal that's part of the health department being like a Nazi and just going after them, putting those signs up, closed business, it's a health hazard, lying. What?
Right.
Now, you said something earlier, not tonight, but in another meeting, that you can file a claim against the health department and it doesn't.
Already are. We already are.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, you go to, on our website, you go to SF95. And we have the directions on how to fill that out and how to mail it out. And you can put whatever claim of damage. And that only costs you a price of a stamp.
Wow.
And they have 90 to 180 days to answer that complaint.
Next, do not volunteer to get COVID tested or contact traced. What do you have to say about that, Rick?
I have the right to my own body. It's my property. You can't force me to do any of that, because anything, if you try to inject me, that's a trespass and that's an assault and battery.
Hell yes.
On me.
Hell
that's
yes.
An assault and battery on me. And no, that's not happening. You can't.
What if they go after?
Anything. We have the right to, we the people are supposed to be a self-governing people. And I mean, that's what our founding fathers made for us. The whole thing of, I'm a king of my own castle. Well, that's actually pretty true.
So Rick,
my property is my body. Okay?
They then go after you if they feel that you're an endangerment to others. So what happens then?
Good
what
question.
happens then? Yeah. The bottom line is, if I know that I'm sick or whatever, I have the right to self-quarantine. Now, if I don't know that I'm sick, okay, bottom line is, you know when you're sick, right?
Right.
You know when you're sick. So bottom line, you stay home. But if I know I'm not sick, I'm not showing any symptoms of being sick, I'm not endangering anybody.
I agree.
That's the way I'm
Hell
focused.
yes.
You know,
Rick, can I have a
we-
question? So
Yes,
what
please.
what happens if a person breaks a leg and they need to go to a hospital, to emergency room, and they are automatically testing everyone for COVID-19? So what
Good
would
question.
that person do?
well, if they force a test on you, well, bottom line is that's an act of malpractice. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
you know, the bottom line is, I always tell people to get names, get business cards, get all
Mhm.
that stuff, no matter,
Mhm.
and document everything. And
So they have no right basically to deny
they have no authority
service.
because you're the sovereign person. Okay, you're the
Mhm.
sovereign woman. I'm a sovereign man. I don't like the word person because what it means in the Black's Law Dictionary and what it means
Yeah,
legally.
exactly.
Got to get that out of there. But I'm the sovereign. Okay, I'm the one that's in control here. You're my servant. I'm not going to take any guff from you. I'm going to
Right.
sue you. And the bottom line is, when you say I'm going to hold you liable, that's the way you have to do it. You got to attack everybody in their pocketbook.
And videotape it. Anytime you have a
Okay, so
chance.
Rick, here's a question here. In our Oregon here, she got rid of habeas corpus. She put in contact tracing, as many have done. And then she also put in that if you do not follow any of my mandates, I'm charging you $500 a day until you come to terms and you do what I tell you to do. How do you deal with
Hey,
that?
that's incredible. That sounds like a major lawsuit ready to happen there.
Mass tort. Mass tort.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with that one.
Yep. Yep.
Because
Yep.
that's totally unlawful and it has no force of law.
Now,
Just like we were saying earlier about the citations. By what authority do you have? You
Yes.
have to, when I go into a courtroom, I'm going to ask, by what authority? Show me, prosecutor. Where's the injured party? What authority do you have? I'm not playing
Yes.
around here. So that's how we got to play this game.
Yes.
It is a sick game, but it is a game that they're playing with us. And we
Are there any?
be more offensive.
Are there other people like you, Rick? Do we have an identifiable group of people like you?
I know in the past, I would say in the past 30 years, I've trained several thousand people that have come to my classes when I was taking the time to teach. So there's several of us out there, and there's a lot of people I know that are extremely proficient in the courtroom. I've got a friend from Texas. His name's Glenn Fern. That's Fearn. Fern. He's been to the Supreme Court 5 times. Another good friend of mine that I've been trying to get him on board. There's actually 2 good friends of mine. Would be Dave Champion. Okay, Dave Champion is amazing. He's a former Ranger as well. And then I've got Eddie Craig down there in Austin, Texas. He was a former sheriff's deputy. And you look at the material that they're putting out, it's pretty phenomenal. They're well versed and learned in the law. And Dave Champion was an airborne ranger, and he was also a police officer. We've got a lot of people out there with good information that are well trained, and they uphold to the Constitution. Guys like, well, I'm a member of Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and that's Rick Mack. He's got a lot. He's actually doing constitutional law classes as we speak, trying to wake people up of what's going on. You're being hoodwinked by a out-of-control government that has no authority to be doing what it's doing. I'm going to have that stuff up there. I'm going to have videos from each and every one of them. And you know, I know a lot of people have probably heard of Mark Passio. I'm going to put some of his stuff up there. He has a language problem. He has a tendency to say some off-color words. But you know what? We're at war right now. We shouldn't even be worried about that.
okay, here's another question that came in.
Okay.
Hershowitz, you know Hershowitz, the Epstein friend,
Yeah.
attorney,
Yes.
cites a Supreme Court case that in the early 1900s that sets precedent to society's right to stay safe supersedes the individual's rights of their own body and the constitutional right.
You're dealing with, humans, or I hate using the word human. This is in Bailey, what is it? Bouvier's dictionary back in 1858, I believe. Bouvier Law Dictionary lists a human being as a monster. So, yeah, you might want to stick with man and woman or people. Man, woman, or people. Stay away from person, stay away from human being, and just say man, woman, or people. And people is singular as it is plural. Yeah. I mean, look at, you can look back and see that, they're not always perfect, but the ones that stand the test of time are the ones that you cannot question it, because it was a very good ruling. Just like the one we said earlier, the John J. Marshall case, where he stated no law repugnant to the Constitution is a law, has a force of law, and can be ignored. I mean, that's where we're at right now. Nobody can deprive anybody of their property or their rights, and your rights are your property, by the way, without due process of law.
And the main thing is exactly right. We have to be on the offensive. We have to muster up the courage to get into action and be on the offensive and file more of those tort claims. Next question from Deborah Baber in California. The California federal court in which we filed, the magistrate says, I can't sue on behalf of anyone but myself. Now that confuses her. I've got people that have yet to amend the original filing to include them all because I'm not clear on the next steps.
No, that's absolutely incorrect. The judge is absolutely lying. A mass tort claim is, you get, just like the judge doesn't know the law, obviously, or he's just a God bless a liar. And you can have as many people on a tort claim, because what is a mass tort claim?
Right.
Everybody's been, unlike dealing with a class action suit, a mass tort claim is everybody has been damaged differently. And that's what you got to focus on. In a class action suit, everybody gets an equal piece of the pie. So this judge is smoking crack on his weekends.
So how do we deal with that magistrate saying that, lying to her? He's going to refuse it.
If he refuses it, we file a tort claim against him.
Okay.
And we better get our $400 back.
So step forward if they're not.
I want to ask. I want to ask, has anyone filed in Oregon yet? We have a Nazi governor, and I'm curious if anyone stepped up to the plate yet to file that tort claim in Oregon. Has anyone heard anything?
Go to the Facebook Reopen Oregon and check that out and ask that.
To tell you the truth, I've been on it for about a month to 6 weeks. No one is stepping forth. And these are leaders of various groups like the militia, the Oregon Liberty, Uniting for Liberty. They all go, yes, yes, yes. And then they go, well, I don't want to do it. That type of thing. We're still looking.
Yeah.
We're still looking.
Yeah.
I know I've spent over $12,000 out of my own pocket sending money to different states so they could file that mass tort claim. I've also bought 3 color laser printers for other states. I mean, I'm doing this as a labor of love.
I wanted to ask her how it was going in New Jersey because it's Rick, do you have any update on that mass tort claim?
Well, that's what we're doing, is getting all those things. We do have the summons and what have you. So it's just a matter of when we can get these guys into court. And I think we're having the same issue of getting it handed off to a process server is where we're at. Same thing with California. I'm not exactly sure. We've got case numbers. We do have case numbers. Now, whether they're being served or not. See, in a regular court system, the sheriff would always, like when I would sue against somebody, I'd put up my $400 or my client would put up their $400 and the process was served by the sheriff. So things
Right.
are getting a little screwy right now on how they're handling this. In my opinion, it should have been handled by a judge. Should have automatically ordered the marshal service to serve these governors. So I'm a little lost on what's going on, but I'm trying to fix it right now as we speak, because it is a little bemusing how they're trying to skate around it. We called the courthouse here in Washington, and we're having difficulties even finding our paperwork that we filed on June the 1st. Trying
Well,
to find record of it.
And we know what's going on. They're all,
Oh, yeah,
they're all
we know
part of
what's
the same
going on.
cabal.
Yes.
Well, they were obnoxious in California. They had to recall Gavin Newsom with over 2 million signatures, and they wiped out 1.5 million because sometimes a signature actually extended outside the box.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's why
Nothing
the
surprises
SOS, a
Yep.
cabal SOS is going to take every advantage of anything like that. Exactly.
Well, they did that with the gas tax the night before. It had to be printed on the ballot, but Sarah rewrote it so yes was no and no is yes.
Right. Yes, sir. Fred, go ahead.
Hey, I just have a quick question. I'm the co-founder of the FTBA, and real quick, I coach chiropractors, hundreds of chiropractors around the country that are being forced into the way they take care of patients. So I have influence over hundreds of doctors, which would equal tens of thousands of patients. I would love to have you on our podcast, Resurrecting Our Freedom, and go to these leaders and get to these patients to tell them their rights, and the doctors that are leading in communities, so they have an answer from you, and we could exponentially increase this movement. So if I have an email, I could contact you.
Okay.
Yeah, Krista and I have had great success booking Rick for radio shows. We had him on the
Lars Larson
Bill
show.
Meyer show, and we also had him on the Lars Larson show. So our bookings are going great. So I did include my email there, and we're so happy to book him for, podcasts or radio interviews. And as long as Rick's available, we'll keep booking him.
Now, Deborah from California there's been 5 recall attempts on Newsom since 2019. Another one now is in the works, and only
Right.
3% of the 165 California recalls since 1910 have succeeded. So what do you think about that, folks?
Well, I also got an article that I posted on Facebook this morning that a judge has ruled against Newsom in California.
Right.
You can go look at that article. It would be on my Facebook page, which is Constitutional Law Group, all one word, on Facebook, and take a look at that article and what the judges are saying. We got some judges that are starting to stand up now, which is a positive.
Need them desperately. And that's something that we
Yes.
should do in every state who's ever represented here, and pass it on to the other states. You should get your sheriff teams together standing up for the
Absolutely.
Constitution. You should get your judges together that are standing up for the Constitution, and unite them
Yes.
together as a unit, so that we have some power in each state. We file these
Leverage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Exactly. Now,
Yeah, we
Deborah,
got to build leverage.
right, exactly. Now, Deborah's saying that she doesn't know, maybe she's missing something that happened here tonight about serving the governor the lawsuit. And she's saying, did I miss a step? She doesn't know what to do.
No. We did not miss a step. And what it was is they did not explain to us that we had to be the process servers as well, unlike dealing with regular district court. So that's where we're stuck at right now. And we just get a process server to serve the court. And whatever this judge is saying, that there can only be one name on that signature. The signer is one person, okay? But when you have all the other ones listed in the mass tort claim is what we're focusing on, because they're the first ones that are going to be taken care of when we win the mass tort claim against CDC, the governor, Bill Gates, all of them.
Now, the judge came to her and said basically that she has until the 31st of this month, otherwise he's going to deny the mass tort claim, to respond to her. What should she do? In her own words, describe what she's suing for?
Well, we've made a claim. The claim is that they're acting outside their oath of office. They're acting as a domestic terrorist. Violation of 18 USC 242. It doesn't get any more clear. And if what we're saying is it's a mass tort claim, and a mass tort claim means each one of these people is claiming a different amount for a different amount of damage. That's what a mass tort claim is. It's not a class suit for $400 million.
Oh, here's one thing. The group from Southern California, I want to make sure that any of your questions are answered.
Right. So we're not a group of businesses. We're a group of individuals. There are over 70 of us who have signed the mass tort that has to be amended to include all the names, because originally only the wet signatures were part of the lawsuit. So Rick has said, just file the amendment, attachment number 1A, put all the names down there. But the concern that I had, and it's being addressed to some degree here tonight, is that the magistrate who was assigned to the case wrote back saying, you, Deb Baber, can only file a lawsuit for yourself. You cannot speak for any of these other people. And you, Deb Baber, have got to put it in your own words what this lawsuit is all about, because it basically is frivolous the way it's written.
And that the judge is the one I think is being frivolous here. When we've already filed in several other states, and we have a case number, the whole shebang, and we're just waiting for it to be summoned. The summons to be delivered is outrageous, in my opinion. I will definitely look over what the judge said. If you could get that to me, Deb, what his statement is again. I know I'm inundated with over 1,000 emails a day, but I definitely want you to put that. If it's a definite, we definitely got to get all over that one. And my attitude is, I think they're running scared.
I agree, and it's the magistrate that's speaking, not the judge. It's the magistrate that's speaking, and it's just that with the time frame that they said, 14 days, which puts it at the end of the month, July 30th, for a response. Otherwise, it will be dismissed summarily.
Dave Martin, he's one of the co-writers on that. Dave Martin we need to get him involved in this as well. He's part of our the constitutional law group, and I know he travels quite a bit. But I'll bring it to his attention once somebody brings it. Once I have it in my hands, I'll get it in front of David Martin as well.
Just note that a constitutional law group, who you heard Rick, we have like 7 or 8 more claims going out. We need to have more constitutional lawyers coming on board as assistants of counsel. If you can forward that to any constitutional lawyer that you know, please do so.
And let me vet them.
And then anyone they feel they are adept in constitutional law and would like to become an assistant to counsel, we also want to hear from you as well. And that will make us stronger.
Boots on the ground.
Now,
Boots on the ground.